Hey there, welcome to one of the first The Life of J-Lo YouTube videos. My name is Justin Lowe and welcome to my channel. It's probably your first time here because for me it's actually my first time here too. But today I kind of wanted to share a little bit about my journey of how I started a newsletter business while a full-time student in college at Cornell, and kind of just share a little bit about my journey and what I put into it, what it's been doing now, how much money it's been making for me, for example, and all the steps that I kind of took to get to where it is today, because I've been running this newsletter now for about a year and a half because I started it in January of last year. So I'm really excited to share with you all the steps that I took and the journey that you can take too if you're interested in starting a newsletter. So before we get into it, a little bit on me. My name is Justin, of course, and I graduated from Cornell last year with a degree in economics and a minor in business. While I was there, I really didn't do too much writing courses. I did the writing seminars that they require from you, but my focus was on economics, which is like a more of a math major kind of thing. So really and truly, what a newsletter came out of is my desire to find a way where I could write more, find a way that I could express myself and kind of get myself onto the internet to share what I'm thinking, to share things that I'm interested in kind of like a low stakes way, because when you write a newsletter, when you write online, it's a little bit different from, sharing a video, sharing a vlog, sharing podcasts, things like that. And that was kind of like scary for me. I'm taking the leap now, but of course, when I first started, that wasn't really feasible in terms of what I wanted to do. So really and truly, I started this newsletter as a blog, and as a blog it was kind of a way for me to just kind of share, and it was because I had a website that was called Justin Lowe Music, which I think it still exists, where I hosted my music portfolio, and it had a blog feature where I could just kind of go in there for free because I was already paying to host that website. I could go in there for free and start to host this blog as just another tab on the website. So to be completely honest with you, that blog kind of just started on a whim. I was just literally, it was New Year's, maybe the 4th of January 2023, and I was like, I'm gonna start a blog. I just have this desire to write, and I'm just going to do it, and I'm going to do it every Sunday at 9 a.m. And somehow I managed to, for weeks, at least 15 weeks straight after that, I built the habit of writing a blog every week at 9 a.m. Honestly, when I first started the blog, nobody was reading it. Of course, my parents would read it, my grandparents would read it, my brothers would read it, and close friends would read it as well. But it was really just a letter with my thoughts in there that kind of explained, what happened that week maybe, or I really kind of started to talk about what I did when I studied abroad, what it was like to be a Cornell student, what it was like to intern at one of the biggest banks in America, things like that kind of just like shared my experiences as I went through life. And it kind of has now been a gateway for further content creation for me, because writing a blog, as I said, is like an easy way to get stuff out there, and if people read it, fine. If people don't read it, fine, because it's kind of like you're sending messages into a void. And I kind of like this idea of not having super high stakes of putting my actual face and voice out there, which is, again, welcome to YouTube, and here I am on YouTube. So it clearly is a gateway kind of method for me to get actually into content creation. So there I was last year writing this blog, sending it every Sunday at 9 a.m. and kind of feeling, okay, how do I improve on this blog? How do I make this blog something better, and I looked up courses on, how can I get better at blogging? What is like everybody doing in the blogging space? And as I continued to do those courses, which I actually did do a blogging growth course, and they kind of taught you about SEO, search engine optimization, things like that, how to structure your blog in terms of like a header and titles so that, you'll be picked up, how to write a blurb, for example, in the blog, like the short form where it comes up on Google search, a lot of different things like that I started to learn about the blogging industry, and figuring out that, a blog is essentially this middleman between a product and a buyer. But what I realized is that I really wasn't selling products, yet. But what I was doing is kind of just writing a letter from myself, from my heart, to people who wants to read it. It was less than 100 people who were reading it. But of course, as I was doing that, thinking that I'm writing a blog, trying to go down this road of developing a blog and making a better blog, I realized that what I had wasn't really a blog at all. So you're probably asking yourself, if it's not a blog, what is it, right? And I kind of struggled with that question too for a little bit, until I realized that there's actually this newsletter industry where people send emails, where people send messages where people send letters, for example, from their heart, as I was doing, to people, and they open it on Sundays or whatever day of the week and they read it. So guess what? Turns out, after all this time, I didn't have a blog. I had a newsletter, and all I had to do was kind of direct my focus to realizing that, hey, this isn't a blog, this is a newsletter. So how do I go about growing it? How do I go about investing the right energy into doing it? Because as I was learning how to blog, I realized that, I was investing energy into learning something that wasn't bettering what I was doing and wasn't improving the craft of what I was doing, because it wasn't what I was doing. So defining the fact that I had a newsletter really helped me to accelerate the growth of what I had into creating what it is today. And because you're all new here, you're probably wondering, well, what is it that I have here today? And in short, I have a newsletter that I send every Sunday at 9 a.m. and there's about a little bit over 900 subscribers on there now, which is crazy to me that so many people read it. And I kind of just talk about what happens in my life, and share the lessons that I learned from the different things that happen in life. So for example, I was taking a licensing exam for my job the other day and I failed. What did I share? I shared how to make failure not define you. Or for example, when I graduated, something that I did, and it took me a couple of months to do it, was to frame my diploma. And it kind of had an outsized impact on me in terms of figuring out, maybe I should actually give myself the flowers for graduating from college, because that's kind of a big deal. And I wrote about that and what that made me feel. And I think that for me, the newsletter has kind of just been this space where I've been able to share different things that happen in my life and find lessons in it, and kind of take the time to really think about different things deeply and get my thoughts together on them. And I feel like for me it's been a space like journaling almost, where I'm able to put together coherent thoughts and then help other people to resonate with those thoughts so that we can have a conversation about it. And it's kind of been really, really rewarding, because people have messaged me, told me, hey, this message resonated with me, I really liked how you said that, I really enjoyed that part of the message. And for me, those are the parts of writing that have been actually the most fulfilling. The parts where people are asking me about my experiences to go into it more deeply. Somebody actually just reached out to me about one of them to interview me about my experiences living in New York. And honestly, these are all things that I would have never have imagined happening after just writing a blog with my thoughts from my heart in January of last year. So yeah, it's kind of just that space now where I share every Sunday at 9 a.m. And you should subscribe, by the way, if you haven't subscribed yet. So I host my newsletter on a platform called Beehive, which is a platform that honestly has been the best discovery of this entire journey. So for background, I started the journey actually with my website on Wix, which I talked about a little bit earlier, where Justin Love Music is hosted. And then I transitioned it to WordPress, which everybody was saying, that's the place to go if you have a blog. That's the place to put your blog, because that gives you the most powerful blogging tools, whether it's for affiliate marketing, all those different kind of good stuff that blogging comes with. And then when I realized that it wasn't a blog, that's when I was like, okay, let's do Beehive. And putting it on Beehive was honestly such a great decision, because this platform is built for growth. This platform is really built to help you to monetize. It's built to help you to build a newsletter that you want to do, to grow your audience, to monetize, and to really find ways in which, as a creator, you can create what it is that you want to create. It helps you to build your website, it helps you to build your newsletter in the brand that you want to build it in, and it helps you to, it really manages, your emails, your subscribers, all of that good stuff that comes with the newsletter, and makes it super duper easy for you to start and have a newsletter. And by the way, I'm going to put a link to Beehive in the description here. So if you're interested in starting your own newsletter, definitely use that link down there and start. They have different tier plans for different, people who are interested. They have a free plan so you can get started if you want. And then they also have paid plans that, I'll actually get some commission off of it if you go ahead and you start your own newsletter with a Beehive subscription from my link below. And the reason I mentioned Beehive is because Beehive has helped me to monetize this thing, and I really actually started to monetize last month. So it's July 2024 now, so I started monetizing June 2024, and in the past month alone I've made just under $200 from sending my newsletter every Sunday, which is crazy because I was sending a newsletter every Sunday anyways, making kind of $0, so I was negative on my investment. But now that I'm making a little bit of money by getting ad revenue through the Beehive network, which, you know, I have different sponsors that sponsor the newsletter every week now. It's been pretty amazing to get paid to do something passively that I would have been doing anyways, and Beehive has really allowed me to do that. So I definitely think that it's been such a great opportunity to just do something that I love to do and get paid for it. And so I think that if you're interested in writing, a newsletter is a really good way to make a little bit of passive income from doing something that's pretty simple. It takes maybe an hour, 2 hours a week to write that newsletter, and at the end of the day, I'm making money off of it just by doing pretty much exactly what I love, which is, you know, exactly how I think life should be. And people always ask me, how are you a full-time student? Or they used to ask me, how are you a full-time student writing a newsletter every single week? Because it's basically an extra 1,000-word essay that I added to my assignments every single week. And how did I do it? I did it because I loved it. And honestly, I feel like with anything in life, when you do something that you love, it doesn't feel like work. And it never has felt like work to write my newsletter. It's always been, maybe I have to take some time away to myself when I'm spending time with my friends, maybe, or family, to go and write the newsletter. But at the end of the day, it's not work that I'm doing. It's sitting down with myself. It's sitting down with my thoughts and putting things on paper that I wanted to put on paper. And doing something, writing, is something that I enjoy doing. So if you are somebody that enjoys writing, if you are somebody that enjoys, you know, putting out content into the world, but you're scared maybe to start with YouTube, and I'm sorry for all the difference in lights going on right now, definitely try a newsletter. And it's something that you can do pretty easily, pretty simply. Just be consistent. And that was the real challenge for me as a college student, is being consistent every week, is just finding, even if it's Saturday night before it's Sunday 9 a.m., that I found the time to write the newsletter. Because consistency is key, because what you'll find is that as you put out more and more, you stay consistent. Maybe everybody isn't going to read it every week, but somebody will read it one week, recommend it to somebody the other week, and it will begin to grow organically. And that's kind of how I feel about this YouTube thing. This is my first pass at actually making a real YouTube video that is in line with the brand that I'm trying to put forward, which is the life of J-Lo and everything that comes with that. So I'm challenging myself to be consistent. And honestly, with anything that you do in the creative world especially, consistency I think will pay off. So that's kind of how I did the newsletter through being a full-time student in college. So before I go, I just want to say a huge thank you for being here, for watching this video, for staying to the end, for, you know, joining the life of J-Lo on YouTube. If you haven't already, subscribe, hit the subscribe button for more content like this. Definitely stay in touch with me on TikTok. There are like 30-something thousand other people on there who follow me on TikTok and see a different personality, different side of my personality over there. There are people on Instagram who follow me for my pictures. My pictures I don't post that often, but I'll start posting more if you go follow me. But make sure you subscribe, stay tuned, and most of all, subscribe to the newsletter. Subscribe to the Life of J-Lo newsletter. It's the Life of J-Lo. That's JLOWE.com. If you go over there on your browser, whatever browser you use, go over there, type in the email address, take a read out some of the newsletter articles that are there from the past. All of the archives are there. Tell me what you think, leave a comment, sign up, and I just love to hear from you. And before I go, I'll actually leave you with a little story, which is that there was this one time where I was giving a speech at my high school back in Jamaica, and it's because they hadn't named me head boy as yet, but when I was there, they had kind of asked me to speak to the 7th graders that were coming in to the school. After I spoke, I gave my 2 cents, and I was like, hey, you know, it's going to be an amazing time. This is my time. I cracked some jokes with I was talking to the parents, by the way, and, you know, I was kind of like, you know, I kind of just did what I was doing and, you know, said what I wanted to say. Anyways, a couple months later, I met a couple of the 7th graders who actually enrolled in the school, because this was at orientation. I met a couple of them and met a couple of their parents too. And when they ran into me, they were like, Justin, your speech inspired me. Like, it really motivated me and helped me to come to terms with coming to high school and starting this new journey and get comfortable with it. And for me, I was like, wow, I really, you know, I just went out there, I laid my heart out, I spoke, and I gave my story. And it's so amazing that I didn't know who I was touching in that moment. I didn't know whose lives I was impacting in that moment, because I didn't know anybody who's in the audience. And honestly, that's one of the things that's been really fulfilling about this newsletter, and I'm hoping with this YouTube channel, is that I'm not sure, and I will never know who I'm going to impact. I don't know who's gonna watch this YouTube video. I don't know who's reading the newsletters, but at the same time, I know that in some way, shape, or form, it's impacting somebody. And for me, that's enough. For me, that's enough. Thank you, to be able to continue, to be able to be motivated. And the best part of it, the better part of it than, you know, just speaking into the void, is when the void talks back. So you guys being the void, talk back to me, leave a comment, tell me, send me a DM, just say hey, tell me how you resonated with the newsletter, with the vlog, or the YouTube video, whatever it is. And you know, talk to me. I love it when people respond and give me their feedback, because that's the only way that I'll grow. That's the only way that I'll be better. And so yeah, thanks so much for being here. Subscribe to The Life of J Lo everywhere, wherever you can find me, and stay tuned for more.